Did you know that there's a creature on this planet that is, for all practical purposes, immortal? It doesn't age. It doesn't slowly break down the way you and I do. And when it gets old or sick or injured, it just hits the reset button and becomes a baby again. This isn't science fiction. It's a real animal, swimming in oceans all over the world right now, and scientists are absolutely obsessed with figuring out how it works. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to look at life, death, and your own body completely differently. Trust me, the deeper we go, the stranger this gets. The animal is called Turritopsis dohrnii, but everyone just calls it the immortal jellyfish. It's tiny, barely the size of your pinky nail, and it looks almost too delicate to matter. But here's the mind-bending part. When a normal jellyfish reaches the end of its life, it dies, just like everything else. This one doesn't accept those terms. When it's threatened or starving or simply getting old, its body undergoes a process called transdifferentiation. In plain English, its adult cells literally transform back into baby cells, and the whole jellyfish reverts to its earliest life stage, a tiny blob called a polyp. Then it grows up all over again. Imagine if a butterfly, facing death, could melt back into a caterpillar and just start its entire life from scratch. That's what this creature does, and it can theoretically do it forever. Now you might be thinking, okay, but surely they all eventually die, right? And yes, in the real world they do, constantly. They get eaten by predators, they get sucked into ship engines, they catch diseases. The immortal jellyfish isn't unkillable, it's just biologically ageless. Left undisturbed, it has no built-in expiration date, no genetic countdown clock telling it that its time is up. And here's where it gets genuinely eerie. Because these jellyfish reproduce and spread so efficiently, and because they can ride along in the ballast water of cargo ships, scientists believe they've quietly colonized oceans across the entire planet. One researcher described it as a silent worldwide invasion. There are likely millions of functionally immortal organisms drifting beneath the waves right now, and almost nobody knows they exist. So what does this actually mean for us? Well, this is the question that keeps biologists up at night. Aging, the thing we all assume is unavoidable, the thing that wrinkles our skin and weakens our bones and eventually ends every human story, might not be some unbreakable law of nature after all. This jellyfish is living proof that a complex animal can completely sidestep the aging process. Researchers in Spain recently sequenced its entire genome, comparing it to a closely related jellyfish that ages normally. What they found was fascinating. The immortal jellyfish has extra copies of genes that repair DNA and protect the tiny caps on the ends of our chromosomes, the same caps that fray and shorten as humans get older. In other words, the secret to its endless youth is written right there in its code, and we are just beginning to read it. But before you start dreaming about living forever, here's the twist nobody talks about. Even though the jellyfish regenerates its body, scientists genuinely don't know if it's still the same individual afterward, or whether the original creature effectively dies and a copy takes its place. Think about that for a second. If your body dissolved completely and rebuilt itself from your own raw cells, with no memories, no continuity, just brand new tissue carrying your DNA, would that still be you? Or would you have died, and something new simply inherited your blueprint? This little jellyfish accidentally smashes into one of the deepest philosophical questions humans have ever asked. What does it even mean to be the same person from one moment to the next? You're not made of the same atoms you were 10 years ago either. Your cells are constantly being replaced. So in a way, you're already a slower version of this exact mystery. And that's the thought I want to leave you with, because it changes everything. We tend to think of immortality as the ultimate dream, the prize at the end of the rainbow. But this tiny, brainless creature shows us that immortality might come with a price we never considered, the loss of the self entirely. It doesn't remember its past lives. It doesn't carry forward who it was. It simply continues, an unbroken thread of biological life with no passenger riding along inside. Maybe that's the real reason humans age and die. Maybe our mortality is the price we pay for being a continuous, remembering, conscious self, for being someone instead of just something that keeps going. The immortal jellyfish bought endless life by giving up its identity. And honestly, when you frame it that way, our short fragile human lives suddenly feel a lot more precious. So the next time someone tells you they wish they could live forever, ask them this. Would you still want it, if living forever meant you couldn't bring yourself along for the ride? Last time, we met a jellyfish that cheats death. It rewinds its own life, again and again, like a movie that refuses to end. You probably thought nothing could top that. But the immortal jellyfish is just the beginning. Nature is full of creatures that break the rules we thought were unbreakable. Some survive being frozen solid. Some come back from being torn apart. Some shrug off radiation that would kill you in seconds. These aren't science fiction monsters. They are real animals, alive right now, hiding in ponds, oceans, and even the dust on your windowsill. And the more scientists study them, the stranger they get. So if you thought the jellyfish was the strangest thing alive, get ready. Because today we are going deeper. We are looking at the most indestructible creatures on Earth. And by the end, you might start wondering what alive even means. Let's start with the toughest animal ever discovered. The tardigrade. People call them water bears, but don't let the cute name fool you. These tiny creatures are nearly impossible to kill. You can freeze them to nearly absolute zero. You can boil them past the boiling point of water. You can blast them with radiation hundreds of times stronger than what would kill a human. And they just keep going. How? When things get bad, a tardigrade curls into a ball and shuts itself down. It pushes out almost all the water in its body and enters a state called cryptobiosis. In this dried-up form, its metabolism nearly stops. It's not quite dead, but it's not really alive either. It can stay like this for decades. Then add a drop of water, and it wakes up like nothing happened, but here's the part that sounds made up. In 2007, scientists sent living tardigrades into space. Not inside a ship. Outside it. They were exposed to the raw vacuum of space, freezing cold, and brutal cosmic radiation. Anything else would have been destroyed instantly. When the tardigrades came back to Earth, many of them were still alive. Some even laid eggs that hatched normally. Let that sink in. A creature smaller than a grain of sand survived open space. Scientists think the secret is a special protein that wraps around their cells like glass, holding everything in place when the water is gone. We are now studying that protein to protect human cells, vaccines, and maybe even astronauts one day. The toughest survival trick on the planet might come from something you can barely see. Now let's talk about coming back from being torn apart. Meet the planarian worm. It lives in freshwater, and it has a superpower that feels almost unfair. You can cut a planarian into pieces, and each piece can grow into a whole new worm. Not just a tail or a head. A complete, living animal with a brain and everything. Cut one into 200 pieces, and you could get 200 new worms. The secret is a stash of special stem cells spread throughout its body. These cells can become any kind of tissue the worm needs. Cut off the head, and the body grows a new brain. And here's the wild part. Some experiments suggest the new worm can keep memories the old one learned. That raises a haunting question. If your memories can survive in a regrown brain, where exactly does you live? Then there's the axolotl, and honestly, it might be my favorite. It's a salamander that never grows up. It keeps its feathery gills and stays in the water its whole life, looking permanently like a smiling baby. But behind that goofy face is one of the most powerful healing systems in the animal kingdom. An axolotl can regrow a lost leg perfectly, with bones, muscles, and nerves all in the right place. And it doesn't stop at legs. It can regrow parts of its heart, parts of its spine, even parts of its brain. While our bodies form scars, the axolotl rebuilds the real thing. Scientists are obsessed with it, because we share a lot of the same genes. If we can crack how the axolotl does it, we might one day heal human injuries that are permanent today. The answer to regrowing organs might be swimming in a tank right now. So where does this leave us? The immortal jellyfish rewinds time. The tardigrade survives the void of space. The planarian rebuilds itself from a scrap. The axolotl regrows its own heart and brain. Each one bends a rule we thought was absolute. Death, aging, damage, even the limits of survival. They all suddenly look less like laws and more like challenges. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Life is far stranger and far tougher than we ever imagined. The line between living and dying isn't a wall. It's blurry, flexible, and full of exceptions. We are only beginning to understand how these creatures do what they do. So here's the question to leave you with. If nature has already found so many ways to cheat death, how long until we learn to do it too?